Will anybody show up? I don't know. We'll see. So I'm actually testing what might be my remote live stream video recording setup. And I wanted to see if what you guys thought of it. We'll see if people show up. Kind of an impromptu thing. I'm not expecting many to show up right now. So we'll see what happens. All right, we have a couple people showing up. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Please give me a sound check. Ruby. Can you guys hear me? All right. Let me know. Can you talk about UML? Okay, I'll give a little bit brief discussion of UML. But let's. You can hear and you can hear. I can hear you clearly. Good. Sounds good. Looks good. All right. Good. Thank you. So, I'm supposed to go on the road in November, maybe early December, and I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. I don't know if I want to bring my big cinema camera with me, and so I'm trying a very lightweight setup here. Yeah, you can. So, what do you think? How's this video quality on this? Is this good enough for you guys? Is this, or do you miss the old cinema bokeh hands? Let me know. So here, good, loud, here in Finland. Good. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate it. It's been a while since I've done a live. So I'll do a few Q&As here. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll do a couple of Q&As, question and answer, but I'm also just jump into the subject. Yeah, this is this. I just wanted to test to see what this setup would be like for you guys. Okay, good. So, let me just jump into the subject. Video's good, but could be better. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, I'm just using the iPhone right here. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, because I'm going to be traveling, and I don't know if I want to bring a big professional cinema camera with me. As I travel, it's just a headache. So let me just jump into the subject, then I'll do some Q&A. We'll see how people feel about this. So I got a question to me about getting into AI and ML, AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning. So I'll answer, how much math do I need to learn AI and ML? It depends on how and what level implementation that you're getting involved with. So let me discuss that quickly. There are two branches to AI. There is the research end, where it's very math intensive. And then there's the implementation end, which is not so much math. It's not about math as far as I understand. Now, caveat, I am not an AI developer, but I have two friends who have AI businesses or base businesses, and where they implement AI to either enhance their business or it's the central focus of the business. And I have another friend who's doing his, I think it's his PhD in AI. So, how much math do you need to get into AI? Well, you don't need too much. Unless you're doing the research, then you need a lot of math. So it really depends. So what's going on right now is the big companies like Google comes to mind. They provide these engines, these AI engines that you can hook into like any other API. AI these days, as far as I understand, is more or less great for pattern recognition, images, sound, that sort of thing. Coming up with maybe language as well, being able to discern, for AI to be able to, for lack of better words, come up with intelligent responses to problems of logic. It's very limited now as far as I understand. So it's all about pattern recognition, which doesn't diminish AI, but it's, for example, if you have Google Photos and you got thousands of photos, I've learned this from my cabinet maker of all people. And if you want to find images, it's able to scan images and discern what's in the images. So I had taken a bunch of measurements, and so he said, just type in measurements or tape measure. And sure enough, the AI was smart enough to go through my thousands of images and find any images where there's a tape measure in it, which was pretty impressive. Anyway, let me just go through the 4 steps, and then we'll take it from there. So number 1, what I would do before you jump into the whole AI world is, first of all, look at job opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and other big job sites and start looking up the job requirements. What kind of requirements do AI-based positions require? Do they require a comp sci degree? Do they require any advanced degrees in AI to be able to jump to that game? That's the first thing I do. Why? Because A, it's going to give you a pathway in terms of what you need to do step by step to be able to get into AI. That's number one. Number two, look at the compensation, level compensations. How much are they paying for this? So if you're going to have to spend years in school, how much you're going to get paid to do that versus doing 3-4 months and jumping into the web development game. You know what I mean? You have to look into that as well. You also have to look into how many jobs are there out there? Are there a lot of AI jobs or just a few AI jobs? Take a look into that. What type of organizations you're going to be working at? That plays a role, because when you're working in big monolithic organizations, it's a very different lifestyle than working for a small startup or a small business. So you got to look at all those issues. Now, there's, as far as I understand, at least there's 2 different types of jobs, if you will, in AI. The implementation and research. Research is very theoretical, math intensive, and the implementation doesn't necessarily have to be. So there you go. That's the first thing I do. Look at the job opportunities so you get a kind of an idea, a feel for what's going on. So if that checks out, if you look at the job opportunities and it looks good to you, then I would do step 2, start learning. Take the first steps to learning what you need to learn to get into it. Now, what I would do, personally, I would suggest learning Python or JavaScript. Python probably the number 1 choice in terms of AI. And then hook into some major AI APIs, like the Google engine or something, TensorFlow, I think it's called, and play with it. See what it's like to implement AI and see if that's cool to you or not. This will start giving you the ability to better discern the market out there. Yeah, so that's number 2. Number 3, I jumped into number 3. Do some basic Google AI ML, like TensorFlow, just to get a feel for it. Step number 4, if the above checks out, if the job requirements are interesting, seem something you're willing to take on in terms of the requirements, if that type of work is interesting to you, maybe play with the theoretical side of it as well, then you have your steps lined out for you. So in a nutshell, there you go. So keep that in mind. I think, well, that's it. Any questions? Any questions? By the way, I'm testing out this very simple new remote. So I'm actually using my iPhone to stream this video over the interwebs. I just wanted to see how you guys thought about it. So, cheers. Hey, Stef, in what situations is server-side rendering beneficial for a front end? The thing about server-side rendering is secure. Anybody can shut off JavaScript. They can hack your JavaScript. So if you're doing anything secure that needs to be secure, database access, stuff that has to be secure, then you're going to, server-side rendering is, of course, the way to go with that. It's a judgment call as to whether or not you want to offload the computation to the client versus the server. The more you can offload to the individual client computer, the better. But it's basically a security issue. You go to server when you're doing security. Any particular course useful for mid-career developers? What I would be doing is be working on better communication skills, better project management skills. I would jump into, if you look under, well, it's not going to be under this video, but under all my other videos, you'll find books on refactoring and design patterns. Refactoring design patterns is what I would jump into now. I have a front-end developer interview tomorrow. What advices would you give me? Research what the company is doing, where you're going to interview for. Figure out what stacks they're using, what they're doing. try to get to know the company so you can ask intelligent questions about what they're doing. Make sure that you, what's the word I'm looking for? Make sure that you bone up on the tech that they happen to be using. So if it's a house where they're using Vue, make sure you've done a little review of Vue.js before you get in there. Sound is good. What about it? What do you think about AI and JS? I know it's being implemented. I don't know to what degree. I don't have any opinion vis-a-vis the tech implementations. So coming from someone who professionally works with ML and also teaches this, learning SQL and web development is going to benefit you in the long run, as most of the existing businesses use SQL ultimately. Yeah. I've been saying this for 10,000 years now, that SQL and web tech, web development is like it's the golden bullet of development now. There's so much opportunity there, so I would be making that a priority personally. Video quality is great. Okay, good. Yeah. Air is garbage. Get a MacBook Pro or Mac Mini, not an Air. That's interesting. I have an Air. I've had no problems with my Air. It works very good. I got the M1 Air, though. You have to deploy your models somewhere. Yeah. Python or Node to have a job in Europe. Look at the job listings. Depends on the type of jobs you're going to be doing. Depends on the country. Books or courses for ML. I cannot recommend anything because I don't know. What I would do is start with my Python course. It will be under this video after I finish the stream. Yeah, I would look at my Python course first. That's because you gotta learn Python initially. Python's probably your best choice in terms of programming languages. Then from there, you could take it where you want to go. In terms of individual courses, I couldn't say specific to ML. Hey, Stef, I'm learning web dev right now, and I want to go so far in this industry, but it looks like AI and ML are so important. So please, should I learn them and how AI and ML can help in web dev? I would put AI and ML into a very specialized category. For every AI and ML job, there's probably 5,000, 10,000 web jobs. So you're starting off in a good place. Do your web stuff, get going with that, and then start tinkering with AI and ML. I was asking about courses with respect to AI and ML courses for mid-developer suite. Oh, I couldn't say, dude. I haven't looked at what's out there in terms of those type of courses. By the way, if you like my streams, please do give it a thumbs up so that the Google says, hey, this is good. Yeah. What do you think about WebAssembly for front end? I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's highly, it's a niche implementation, meaning you might need to use it once in a while, but I don't think it's going to dominate the world. So by the way, if you're just logging in, thanks for joining the stream. I'm actually testing a remote streaming setup for the most part, except for this mic perhaps. And I'm using an iPhone instead of my cinema camera to stream into the streaming software. And it's doing it all wirelessly. No connections, which is kind of cool. How does the M1 Air handle development regarding temperature? How does it get with heavy development because it has no fan? I found no problems doing heavy-duty 4K video editing, which is extremely processor intense. How much is a lot of jobs in certain occupation, in your opinion? How much is a lot of jobs in a certain occupation, in your opinion? I don't know what you mean by that question. Would it be easier to get your foot into back-end developer position than data engineer position? Yeah, for sure, 100%. If you're a data engineer, you're a data scientist. That's like a profession. It's a profession that happens to use software development, coding languages to do what they do, but it's a whole thing in of itself. So I would just go back-end coding. Could back-end be a good step towards data engineer? Sure, it would be. I would start with back-end and just software development, and then start poking around at data engineer jobs, see what you think about that. It's getting pretty bright here, right? Let's reduce my brightness a little bit. Woo! I can go like this. This is how it really is in the room. I'm going to go like this. All right, good. I've watched a lot of podcasts about AI and ML. It seems way out of my league now. People in it seem to have PhDs or decades of experience. Well, it depends if you're doing the research end of it or the implementation end of it. I have two friends who have businesses. They generate income with AI. One of them, the AI is supportive of their main product, and the other one, the other friend has a business where their main product is, in fact, the AI. Thanks, Stefan. Rarely come across such humble YouTuber. Best wishes from India. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining the stream, Mr. Sharma. You are my doppelganger. I am Hayan Mishuk. Matchnuk. Excuse me. What do you think about Kotlin? I think it's a good language. If you're going to be native Android developer, Kotlin is the way to go. And I say that because that's what Google said to do. So there you go. What about Java as a back-end language for web dev? Still worth learning 21 because Java's king in the market here in Morocco. Yeah, if you want to go work for large organizations and they use Java, then of course, Java's great. A lot of time, all these languages on a technical point of view are good. They all have their pros and their cons. They all have their niches and their places. The decision whether to use JavaScript or Java or PHP or Python or not Ruby, whatever, it all depends more or less on your personal taste in terms of what you like and job opportunities. But technically, they all have their mojos, you know. Looking great. First time I catch you live. Hey, well, welcome to the stream. I used to do a lot more live streams. I've just been really busy with work and other things. So, yeah. I don't know about this, but you should do the Studioweb web training. Check out Studioweb web development or training courses or Stef. You'll see all the reviews. Or check out my book as well if you're just starting out. Not that I'm biased, but I tend to think my courses are superior. Not that I'm biased. Would you know any good free online resource for secure authentication systems in PHP? I already know how to code. I'm just having a hard time finding best practices for optimal security. I would look at the Laravel framework and see how they implement security. And they have a nice authentication system built in. We use it. Seems pretty good. Does a 6-month online course in data engineering from MIT really make you job ready? I don't know. Check out some reviews, see what they say. Hey, Mr. Stef, what resources would you recommend to learn UX and UI? You know what? I teach a bit of that in my courses, but I should put out a dedicated course on advanced UX and UI. Yeah, I assume you know the code. I assume you understand HTML5, CSS3. You probably worked with Bootstrap, Grid. Maybe you worked with something like a Vue.js. And then you kind of look at it from a theoretical and from a logical point of view. Not Ruby. Yes, exactly. Hey, Steph, what are your thoughts on the Jamstack? Worth learning. If there are jobs, you know, this is what I teach in my mentoring program. Links will be below. First thing, you learn your fundamentals. My fundamentals courses take you to beginner intermediate level. Why do you do that first and foremost before trying to make any decisions? Because these fundamentals are universal. Wherever you end up at Jamstack, LAMP, wherever, mobile development, you have to understand all these things. So before you try to make a decision about what you like, you have to have some skill, right? So you can make an intelligent, informed decision. It's like it's kind of like dating. You don't know who your significant other is going to be or what you like until you've dated a whole bunch, right? And I kind of like this, I don't like that, you know. or driving cars. You got to test drive a bunch of cars before you can decide what car you really like. So I would just say, before trying to figure out what you want to get into, by reading a bunch of nerds on YouTube who will tell you, oh, this is the best, that's the best. Learn the basics, and then you'll be able to make your own decisions that is informed. I found a remote job and doing this for 2 months, but I have a imposter syndrome. Feel like I'm not enough. What do I do? Keep writing code, buddy. Just get the jobs done. Just say to yourself, I'm getting the job done. That's it. I'm getting the job done. Just get the job done. And the more jobs that you do, the more confident you're going to be. First job, I'm nervous. Second job, I'm less nervous because I did the first job and it came through. Third job, even less nervous. It's kind of like fighting. When you start fighting, the first few fights you can be nervous, but if you get into a whole bunch of scraps, then it becomes pretty easy. And it starts being a lot of fun too. You said that when one is deciding whether he wants to get into AI and ML, he should look at the market looks like. Look at the market. Literally, if there are lots of us. So my question was, how much is a lot? Yeah, what you should do is check up the job opportunities. See, if you go to Indeed, it will literally, you pick a city in a particular country, and it will tell you how many jobs are listed. And maybe just call up, say, hey, are you getting a lot of applicants for your job openings? And just do a little research in that regard. Because it's all relative, right? For example, Code Fusion, which is an old language that became popular in the 90s. It's basically just Java under the hoods. But anyway, there's probably very few Code Fusion jobs. But if there's maybe only 50 Code Fusion jobs in the state of California, but if there's only 25 Code Fusion coders, then you have all the power. So it's not whether, I hope you get the point, right? It depends. It's always a ratio of jobs and available developers. Stef, just got your Studioweb course, hoping to get a job by March. Let's see, where are we now? We October, November, December, January. Oh yeah, we've had people check the reviews. Just check the reviews. Don't take my word for it. People who have gotten jobs within a few months, knowing zero, using my Studioweb, beating out people who had comp sci degrees. See, my job as a teacher is to do two things. Number one is to simplify, so it's understandable. Number two is to teach you what you need to know to get your foot in the door. See, the way it works to get a job, it's not like you do a bunch of courses and you come in, you get your first job, and you're the rock star. No, it doesn't work that way. You get your foot in the door, so you start working on basic stuff, entry level, and you build up over a certain period of time. Generally speaking, there are exceptions, of course. Any thoughts on Agile Scrum methods of development? Yeah, I implement, I have been for many, many, many years, a variance of that, if you will. Again, it depends on the type of coding that you're doing. Depends on how many people are involved on a particular project. If it's like 3 people or 20 people, you might have different methodologies. I hope that makes sense. All right. Hey, Stef, I'd like to thank you on your podcast. Hello from St. Petersburg, Russia. Hey, welcome to the stream. Well, thanks for joining. How was your day go? It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm testing out this new setup here. I hope it's acceptable for you guys. I'm using my iPhone to film this. Pretty good bokeh, not bad. So, and I'm streaming this from my iPhone to my computer wirelessly. Can you imagine that? Yeah, because I'm going on the road. Uncle Stef is hitting the road. And I don't want to bring my huge cinema camera if I can avoid it. So I was just testing to see how this is. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you like the video quality of the stream. Yeah, how are we doing for time? 20 minutes, not bad. Stuck as a mainframe operations guy, first job. Would you recommend to switch to a different tech or continue with mainframe? I know a little bit of web dev. I did a few online courses prior to job. Okay, so I assume that you're not liking the mainframe stuff. What I would do is I start continue to learn your web dev on the side and put up a portfolio site, and then do 1 or 2 little free jobs in web dev and see if you like the actual work. What's that old expression? The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Sometimes when you get to the other side of the fence, you realize the grass isn't so green. So check it out, see if you like it. And if you do like it, then you can, prep yourself so you can move from mainframe guy into web dev guy, and with no hiccups. See, the great thing is when your experience, I assume, I'm not a mainframe person, but I assume when you say mainframe operations, you do some coding. When you can show people or potential employers that you have done commercial work, real jobs, whether you jump from technology A to B to C, they care much more about your experience than what technology you use. Because if you're a really good Java developer, for example, for you to learn JavaScript, trivial. You're a good C# developer, for you to learn Python, trivial. I hope you get the idea. I watched your video about WordPress versus coding, but I don't really understand why you should use coding if you can make everything in WordPress without even coding. Well, you shouldn't have to. One of my golden rules is don't look for code to write. And I'm a major coder nerd. You don't look for code to write. Just look for tools to use. Now, when you have to use code, write code. So when I'm talking about the whole WordPress thing, if you learn coding, it will just make you better at WordPress. Trust me, because you're going to be learning what coding languages are used to build WordPress. Hey, Stefan, I'm 35 years old. How do I get into data science, ML? Well, data science is it's its own profession. And I would imagine, I'm not a data scientist, but I would imagine you're going to need higher education for that. ML, different game, I just talked about. I have a degree in computer science, but no technical experience. I have worked as an operations manager in telecom and as a project manager in web dev company. So you want to get into technical. Well, I would just talk to employers who employ people in ML and see what they have to say. I would do it. Cloud engineer versus software developer. Which one do you think? I always like being a developer. I like somebody who creates. I think that's got the longest term of viability. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Good morning. I'll be down, with luck, I'll be down in your state within the next couple months, Florida. Maybe I'll drive through Lakeland at one point. Let me rephrase. A 6 months online course in data engineering really make one ready for a job from your point of view? I would have to look at what the requirements to be a data engineer is. I'm not a data engineer. And see what they say. See what they say. Look up jobs on data engineering jobs. See what they're looking for. Ask them. Call them up. Say, hey, I want to take this program. Would you hire me if I was any good? See what they say. Good morning from El Paso, Texas. Hey, good morning. For me, well, it's late morning. To be honest, I purchased your full stack web dev course. It seemed much more focused on trying to be funny than with teaching. Well, you just started it. If you look at the reviews, like 170 odd reviews, I started off as funny and lighthearted. Why do I do that? Because it is a teaching strategy. What I'm trying to do by making it funny and easy at first is to get your lizard brain, your emotional self, to find the information palatable, make it fun. And so I start off, it's funny, and it slowly ramps up. Look, but don't take my word for it. Read the reviews. Trust me. I have in those courses what I would want somebody to come to me with in terms of skills and knowledge and understanding if I were to hire them. So thanks for the compliment. Exactly. I wanted to make it fun and funny at first. But you just started. That tells me you just started. You know, there's hundreds of lessons and over 1,000 quiz questions and choices. So you just started. Python first, ML books, of course, with Kaggle for applying what you've learned. As software developer will always be ahead. Yeah. And here's of course, the about your Python course in Chapter 4 section. You are a great teacher. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. Of course, let me just say, I'm not going to say my course is for everybody. You know, a lot of people, generally speaking, 99.9% of people who love my courses will take them. But some people don't. Some people don't. They don't like it to be funny. They want it to be serious and boring. But maybe, anyway. Michael Corleone, hey, it's my father. Stefan, there is a fan subreddit for you calling you Big Daddy, etc. Are you really gay or are you screwing around? What? Okay, I got to take it. I don't know if this is a joke. Tell me, Michael Corleone, if that is actually a joke or not. Or if there actually is a subreddit calling me Big Daddy. If there is, you got to send me the link to that. That's pretty funny. Which country do you think pays the most attention to software? Any advanced economy and up-and-coming economy is going to pay attention to software. Software, the whole point of software is to simplify things. My parents are forcing me to learn programming at university. What do I do? Oh, do they pay all your bills, Mr. Losty? You know, I'll tell you what. Learning to program is like developing a superpower. Even if you don't end up being a programmer, it will be valuable to you in your life. Trust me. For example, I have a good friend of mine. He has a multi-million-dollar travel business. He's done very well, and he doesn't code, but he learned the basics of coding early on in his career. And he said to me, talking to me a while back about this, he said one of the most important skills he ever learned was coding, because he was able to understand website design, development. He was able to communicate a little bit more effectively with developers that they would hire to build their systems. So, yeah, if they're paying for your university and they want you to do that, you know, what I would suggest, think of it as like bodybuilding for your brain. Trust me, you're going to be glad that you did it years from now, because it's very practical. Coding is very, very practical. You may come up with a business idea and you'll be going, thank God I learned to code. So I would say, if they're paying for it, I would just do it. Just do it. Trust me, you're going to be glad you did. Data scientist activities will be automated. I would imagine to a certain extent, yeah. Funny thing is that ML, 90% is data cleansing. Yeah, I heard that. I heard it's, what he's saying is that a big part of machine learning is filtering of the data. I was reading a little bit about that from one of the top data scientists. He was saying it was akin to an art form to be able to parse your data sets to feed the engine properly. Again, I'm not a data scientist. I don't know from personal experience, but that's what I was told. I keep on hearing this, and honestly, it's true. I've done some practice on Kaggle. I'm still learning, though, as ML is also new to me. I think ML is great, but I think it's very early on in the game. I kind of look at it as like Web 1992. You know, I had one of the very first websites in the world in 1994. I had one of the very, like literally, one of the first 10,000, 5,000 websites, maybe 4,000 websites. I don't know. I had one of the first. I had one of the first websites in the world by far with images. So very pre-commercial web. And I look at ML, it's kind of like 94 web. You know, it still has a lot of room to grow and a lot of work to be done. Do WordPress professionals need to learn UX and UI in depth, knowing simple basics of what survives? Well, you should understand the basic principles of UX and UI. You should read articles and watch videos on UX principles, UI principles, because that's key, fundamental to especially WordPress, which is basically front-end implementations. So definitely, yeah, I would do that if I were you. How are we doing for time? 35 minutes. Oh my God, time flies. How easy is it for a web developer to jump between different software development, game developing, app developing? Well, when you're a web developer, you may end up doing game development. You may do, of course, you're doing app development. So very easy. Hello from Toronto. Hey, hello from Krakow. That's a cool name. Video quality looks like it's from a pro camera. There you go. That's the iPhone. The key to videography, by the way, is lighting. It's lighting. Yeah. The better cameras will have, they'll be more fault tolerant, meaning you don't have to be as careful with the lighting, but lighting is everything. Like programming is like that as well. The fundamentals of programming dictate whether a piece of software is good or bad. Not the framework that you use, not the language that you use, except for Ruby, not the database that you use. It's the fundamental implementations, how well you write your code, if your code is clean, if you refactor your code well, if you use good design patterns. This is what determines whether or not the software is going to be excellent or not. Not the language, not the framework. And I'll give you the ultimate evidence of that. You can find super successful applications written in just about every language and using every different framework. You know, LinkedIn is Java. All the MSDN sites, the Microsoft sites, of course, C#.net. You know, Facebook was PHP. WordPress is PHP. You know, Instagram, I think, was Python. YouTube is Python. Twitter originally was Ruby, but they had to leave it. No, I'm just kidding. But even Ruby. So don't get caught up with the language and stuff. You can pivot anyway. So I want to learn kernel dev to contribute to Linux. Is it a good decision? It will help you with your understanding of things, I suppose. I don't know what the job opportunities are in that specialization. You have to look into that. But yeah. Hey, good night. Thanks for joining the stream. Stef, should I use the same front-end app for both mobile and desktop using responsive CSS or separate them now? I finish the logic and load between balance between. Well, listen, if you're developing a mobile application and it works well with just a responsive website on mobile, then don't start writing a whole new code base. That's like a maintenance nightmare. AI and ML engineering going to dominate the future, and should be software engineer look to switch over to the realm. You'll switch over if you need to. There has been bothering me for a while as software engineer who loves coding. I think it'd be fine as a software engineer. Let me just script down to part 2, and then I'll get to the super chat. I can't help but feel, coming from an engineering background, that I'm wasting an opportunity to get into data science, ML, but on the flip side, I can't stand that type of work. I fear you will never be obsolete as a software engineer, first of all. Second of all, if you don't like that kind of work, don't make the mistake of jumping in because you see money there. If you hate your job, you could be making $1 million a year and you're still going to hate your life. So do what you like, first and foremost. Trust me on that one. Dan, I appreciate the couple of coffees, dude. Fantastic. Google's ML Kit in OpenCV is very fun to work with. I built my own document scanner with Flutter using OpenCV. It was incredibly painful, but I learned some cool stuff. Hey, that's cool. It sounds good. So, guys, if you're interested in learning ML, there you go. Dan has graciously given you a pathway. Yeah, Flutter, so I guess you're going to have to learn, what's the language? I think it's TypeScript, right, for Flutter? Anyway, there you go. Which is the most valuable developer for you? Game, web programming, artificial intelligence. Web programming. They're all valuable. It depends. I think you're going to have much more opportunity with web development right now in terms of the number of jobs, but they're all good, man. Hey, welcome to the stream, everybody. So just in case you're wondering, I'm actually testing out this new ultra lightweight streaming setup using my mobile phone. And the mobile phone, which is iPhone 12, last year's crappy iPhone 12, and this crappy iPhone 12 is sending a crappy 1080p wireless signal to my app here, to my computer, and this is what we're doing. As opposed to using my $6,000-$7,000 cinema camera, because I'm going on the road, hopefully soon, and I don't want to drag around my cinema camera. Uncle Stef, my parents want me to study law, but I love programs. It's difficult to convince them. Well, Samuel, I think just show them the job opportunities in software, and tell them, and just pursue software. I think they're just concerned about your job opportunities. I don't know all the other circumstances in your life at this point, so I would just say, hey, buddies, look what I do with software. Unbelievable. It's raining out there. I'll give you a quick view. Not good? All right, there we go. What is data cleansing? It's just parsing through data, getting rid of data that might mess with the algorithm. This is a very high-level explanation. Again, I'm not a data scientist or expert, but it's filtering. It's filtering, essentially. Does PHP Coder need AWS for getting a job at a company? No. AWS is highly specialized. Good stuff, though. Stefan Big Daddy Mischuk. I want to know if that's true or not. That I got to find out if that's true. If it's true, it will be the funniest thing I've heard of for at least a few months. That would be pretty funny. Dear Uncle Stef, hello. What is your recommendation for self-learning? I've already started Ruby Basics. Oh, no. Oh, no. To be honest, I didn't meet better language for myself. Feels good with it. A bit of Java Spring. I'm just kidding about Ruby, by the way. Ruby's cool. Just write code, dude. What I tell people, if I'm going to give you one rule about learning how to code, try to write a minimum of 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week, and you'll be well on your way. So just write code. And then when you start feeling comfortable, start building simple little apps, whether it be with Ruby or whatever language, Java, whatever you want to do. I would also start researching a little bit the type of jobs that you would get as a Ruby dev, the type of jobs you would get as a Java dev, and consider the type of companies you would work for, and see if you like that environment. Oftentimes, the environment in which you work will have a huge role in terms of determining whether you like that type of work. I was actually just on a date yesterday, and this woman, she quit her job because she just hated the environment. That's what she was telling me. So I can understand. Hello from Moscow. Hey, how are you? Welcome to the stream. What lighting setup here? I'm just using, I got a big window here, and I got a spotlight back here, and then I got a light here. And this is lighting, this is my key light. Overcast day, best lighting possible, right? Pretty simple. Pretty simple. I appreciate that. You're amazing, thanks. What's your opinion on quantum computing? Will web dev intersect? I've only read a little bit about quantum, so I'm hardly an expert. I think you're probably using web tech. You'll probably access quantum computing processes, if you will, via API. The web technology space, the stacks, will be the glue that grabs disparate information from different systems. I like this. It's cool. Does PHP Coder, you got that one there. What is the next thing after learning HTML, CSS, JS, React, database, backend language? Thanks. Good. Okay. What I would do is I would go backend, just because of job opportunities, and then you can decide from there. Now, what backend you use, whatever language you want. It's unless you want to get into React, But I like learning full stack because it really opens your eyes to everything. And even if you end up becoming like a React developer or a Vue.js front-end guy or girl, and then knowing the back end will just make you better at that, trust me. No worries, no worries. Is DevOps good? DevOps is good. I'd rather be a developer personally. Hey, Stef, hope you are doing well. Glad I caught a stream after a while. Chilly here in London now. I would imagine so. Yeah, we're not pretty rainy out here in Montreal as well. If you're wondering, I'm doing this live stream from Montreal. Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay, let's see. Arjun says, just want to say your 20-minute rule for coding a day is a blessing. Glad I could help. Thanks for letting me know. I've taken a gap year from university and spending it coding as much as possible. But some days I really don't feel like it, but I try 20 minutes. That's it. The key is frequency of exposure. Frequency of exposure. I should come up with some NFTs with my learning and coding tips. China pays the most attention to software. They need to for their population data collection and surveillance system. Yeah. Does PHP coder? Okay, I answered. I gone through your foundation. What are good small PHP projects to offer for businesses? Well, I would go find local small businesses, find ones that have really old websites, and offer to update their websites. Maybe hook up their sites to a booking engine or a subscription engine, or maybe set up a simple e-commerce for them. Depends on the situation. Hey, how are you? Flutter uses Dart. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Yeah. I want to switch my full-time back-end job. I want to switch my full-time back-end programming job to freelance. I'm ready to get this, but I hate management in IT companies. Should I learn front-end to get jobs from Upwork, or back-end is enough? I would learn a little front-end so you could just provide the full stack. And you can watch videos where I talk about how to get into freelance. I give all kinds of details. We missed the bokeh, though. Yeah, no bokeh. Very poor bokeh. Well, it's kind of minimal bokeh, right? Not bad. What was the hardest thing to learn when you started recording videos? Foundations. I got caught up with the baubles, the sparkles of high-end equipment, as everybody does. And so problem is when you got money to burn, it's like I start buying $10,000 cameras and super expensive lights and all this kind of stuff, and I know better. I should have known better. And it's just the basics. The basics of good cinema is lighting, number one, audio, number two, number three, how you set the scene up, kind of looks good. Then the camera is last. Lens is actually very important too. So basics are always the key. Basics are key. Why 99% of developers always search for easy way? No one is improving software environments. I almost can't find developers which use Go, Rust, or Crystal for new products and systems. Well, because there's many factors that go into making a decision vis-a-vis what technologies you're going to implement for a particular job. You have to look at the availability of developers. You have to look at the current investment in infrastructure. So, for example, I've told this before. I've been in jobs where the company leverages a lot of Microsoft technologies. So they wanted to continue using Microsoft technologies to keep everything consistent. That plays a role. Yes, you find that Go and Rust will be better in certain circumstances, but it has to be all weighed against not just technical needs, but also business needs. That's why. And also, very simple, people don't like learning new things. It's also true. Do you know any freelancer who uses Python, and could you give you an example of what they do? Typically, they'd probably be building web apps that, yeah. The web is so dominant in the freelance space, Damn straight. Good afternoon, Mr. Salah. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for coming back. I tell myself I'll do 20 minutes a day, but after a while you get carried away and forget the time. At least in my experience, that's the case. Starting is the hardest part. Therein, Mr. Arjun, is the strategy. You stumbled across the reality situation. I say do 20 minutes a day because 20 minutes is an easy thing to tackle psychologically. So, it's just 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. But you end up doing more typically. All right, how are we doing? All right, almost an hour, so I'm going to be closing down the stream. Thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed the stream, hey, greetings. Welcome. I love having people from all over the world. It's fantastic. I really noticed that I need to stay with coding often. Frequency is definitely the key to getting better in a timely manner. Yeah, that's why. Even 20 minutes a day, you'd be amazed how much of an impact that. What car do you have currently? And if you don't already have one, what do you think of Tesla? I sold my Audi after years, by the way. I sold my dear Audi, and I have not bought a new car yet because I live downtown. And I've been trying different cars, Lexus, BMW. And then I'm about to head out. I'm going to leave the country for a few months. So I haven't been rushing to buy a new car. I'll probably get something in spring. Teslas. I don't like pure battery operated cars yet. I think the battery tech needs some massaging still. There's not a criticism of Tesla per se. I just think battery tech is still early. Hey, Stef, I'm interested in iOS development, but IDK, if it's the best field to go into, because it looks like the number one jobs are relatively low, and I heard it's hard to get a job as a junior. Yeah, I don't know. I would just do the research as I described in this stream. All right, we'll leave with Mustafa. I'm doing your courses right now. It's the best purchase ever. Quick question. Can you do literally everything with HTML, CS, and JavaScript? Not everything, but you could do a lot. There's plenty of jobs with just those technologies. But that's why once you've done my web stack, you have such a good understanding of what's out there, and you understand programming in general. You understand full stack. You understand front end. You'll be able to pivot and decide which way you want to go into. I've had people do it. Can I become a front-end developer in 2 months and land a job? I think you can get entry-level job within a few months. I've had people do it in a few months, but entry-level. Listen, you're not going to come into any job and be the boss, right? You know, professional fighters, they train for years, and they start off, zero record, right? And they start off with baby opponents. You're going to start off with baby little jobs, but that's how you learn, so that's cool. So to answer your question, yes, you could land a job within months, but it would be entry level. But that's cool because you learn on a job. Thanks for all you do and have done for us noobs. Much love from Florida. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel blocked in my mind when I think of starting to code. That's why you do the 20 minutes a day, because your brain will go, 20 minutes, I can do 20 minutes. And just write code, even write it blind, meaning write it even if you don't understand it. You'd be amazed at how much more quickly comprehension comes from just writing the code, even if you don't understand it as you write it initially. All right, it's been nearly an hour. I hope you liked the streams. I appreciate you joining. Thanks for the thumbs if you did give it. Yeah, let me know in comments under this video whether or not you found this video quality acceptable. And beyond that, I'll put some links to my solo learn courses and my mentoring program if you want to get mentored. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.